I'm going to sneeze. I feel a sneeze coming on.
How far away from a sneeze do you normally feel it coming? Because you didn't act like you felt a sneeze coming on at all. You were just sat there normally and just like, I feel a sneeze coming on. It's like you get a massive premonition.
It's kind of past. It was just a little tickle, and I thought, that's going to be that's a sneeze build up. That is, and it wasn't.
Oh, that's a shame.
Or it could have been, but it's past.
The moment passed.
Not sure which.
Have you had any response or any acknowledgement or any explanation about the small porcelain boy riding a rhino that appeared over the shoulder of the lady from Valorant?
I've had absolutely nothing. I did add on Twitter a separate pic of that really close up one on its face, just with the hashtag kill it with fire. But I've received zero explanation for the absolute creepers.
Surely she's put that there. Just for anyone who's confused, by the way, over the shoulder of the lady that works for the game Valorant, who was talking during the Game Awards, she, over her left shoulder, there was just this really weird figure of this like porcelain boy in a puffin costume riding on a rhino. And I don't know if it's a game reference. If it is, it's a game that I haven't seen in my life, and it is weird as hell. If anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, go and watch the Game Awards and find the Valorant moment, and or just go on Mark's Twitter to see the picture of it. It's freaking weird.
Yeah. At Mr. Liedell, which is MRMRLEEDELL. That's my Twitter.
Little self-Twitter plug.
Twitter.
Love it.
Yeah, why not? And you can go on there and see the pictures because, man, I didn't even hear what she said. I don't remember what she was talking about in relation to Valorant. No. I just remember this freaking little porcelain puffin boy. Absolutely
really wide-eyed and
staring into the void.
Yeah, looks like he might be wearing a little bit of lipstick as well and a bit of rouge on his cheeks, blushing. The whole thing's terrifying.
Blushing little porcelain boy.
And we were kind of watching along with the Game Awards, and we broke down at that moment. I mean, we were tired and delusional as it was, but that was the straw that broke the camel's back, really, wasn't it?
Terrifying.
Absolutely horrendous.
Should we crack on?
Let's crack on. Let's get 4 eggs out of the fridge as if we're going to make a giant omelette, but inside each of the eggs is premium chat, and we're just cracking it into our eyes.
Into our eyes? Bold.
Yeah, probably should have been ears, really, shouldn't it? Nonetheless, let's get the chat eggs and crack them open. Second coffee of the day. We've started.
I've just had one, and it is not the right grind size.
Oh, the worst.
You know, you end up with like that really disappointing thin crema.
Yeah, 100%.
They had that going on. The taste was slightly too light. I nailed the milk though, so it was a nice mouthfeel. But because there wasn't enough extraction, it was like it wasn't sour, but it was like it could go that way.
Slight touch too coarse. Are we talking?
Touch too coarse, yeah.
So you didn't get that sort of caramel like honey texture that you see when that espresso's pouring. Instead, it was slightly too weak and watery.
Yeah, a bit watery.
Anyway, really sorry about that, man.
That's a sidetrack, isn't it?
It is. But hello and welcome to episode 22 of Pushing Buttons, ladies and gentlemen. What's significant about the number 22?
I don't listen to the keys of my.
No, that's
2022.
Oh no.
Angel number, meaning and symbolism. Do we want to go into that? Probably not.
No, I don't want to know what the angel number is. What, 22? Just some. I want to hear some 22 facts.
When cutting a circle with just 6 line segments, the maximum number of pieces that can be created is 22. Thus, 22 is a central polygonal number. There you go.
That's pretty cool. And polygons is stuff to do with games, so it all kind of links in.
Oh, there you go. You've done well to somehow toe that one back to the shoreline.
Yeah, it was heavy, but I tried, and now I've got a sore shoulder. But we're here, we're in the episode, and we're ready for some good times. Today we're going to be mainly talking about the Video Game Awards 2020 that happened but last night. On Thursday night, me and Mark and our friend Joe Novelli stayed up into the small hours of the morning to watch the entirety of that show. So we're going to be delving into that, what we saw, what we thought of it, what we thought of the awards themselves, etc. But before we get to that, now, Mark, I've got an interesting point here. I've made a decision about MVLs.
Yes.
So we do have a new MVL. Obviously, we've got Joe Anderson, who was our MVL last week. However, as new MVLs are they're sparse. We don't get them a lot. I've decided that an MVL always has a reign of at least 2 weeks. Because I would feel bad about letting Joe Anderson only having 1 week on the crown after having Jiggy on it for what felt like a year. But we do have a new MVL, and it is our friend Momi. It's not Moxme, it's Momi. I Instagrammed him about it.
Oh, did he send us a correction?
He did. It's Mo. So the X is not to be pronounced. It's like how.
Okay.
It's like he said in like lots of
Chinese
anime shows, or they often put an X in the title of an anime show, but you don't actually pronounce it.
Okay.
So Momi is going to be our next MVL. But I felt bad only letting Joe Anderson have 1 week. So next episode, Momi, you're going to have your own jingle. But for now, we've still got our dear Swedish friend, Mr. Joe Anderson. Is that offensive? I don't know.
I don't know. They had the Swedish chef.
I was just going to say, it can't be more offensive than the Swedish chef.
They had him on the Game Awards. It was doubly offensive, not just because of the Game Awards, not just that, but you had human hands, which is offensive because it was plain disturbing.
Doesn't it? I swear sometimes when he used to be making a recipe, they used human hands in the Muppet Show. I might be wrong.
Maybe they did, but I feel like it was less explicit.
I think it was like it was a mix. Like if it was like far out shots where he wasn't up close to the camera, he did have classic Muppet hands. But when in the original Muppet Show,
right.
I think when he was like picking up ingredients, because that wouldn't be able to work with Muppet hands, I think he would like pick up.
Yeah.
So it always looked freaky as hell. So you're totally right to pick it out. Anyway. Momi, you're going to have a jingle next week. But for this week, the final week of his tenure as MVL, here is Mr. Joe Anderson.
He went away to Sweden to start a new life for himself. But don't you dare to even try to compare yourself to Joe Anderson.
We could finally comment on that jingle.
Yes, yeah.
Well, we've heard it now.
Joe messaged me and said he really loved it, and he really appreciated the harmonies at the end that you put in the end version at the end of the show, where you cut out the rocking instruments and just let those harmonies do the talking, and he really enjoyed them.
Yeah, it needed to be done because those were some tight knit little harmonies that I think just needed to sing out by themselves, because obviously with the guitars and the drums going and it sort of needed a bit more space. So I thought that was worth doing.
Yeah,
that's actually me playing bass on that one.
Is it?
Yeah, so it's bass and guitar, and then the rest is obviously loops or whatever.
Yeah.
But
we just like
I thought I'd put the effort in.
One day, Mark, what's going to happen is we're going to have our own like full studio where we can we've got drum kit, everything, and we COVID's over, so we can just get together, record the jingle together. It's going to be absolutely prime, and we'll smash it out, and then we can put out an album of jingles, and it's going to be everyone's going to buy it.
The Pushing Buttons band, I'd be well up for.
That'd be so
That'd
good.
Be great.
It would be the most the most niche songbook out of any artist ever, in that all of the tracks are named after fans of the show.
But who's this Jiggy they keep?
Yeah.
What's going on?
I don't know, but it's a great song.
I'm confused.
So yeah, Joe, thank you so much for being our MVL for those 2 weeks, and we hope you continue to enjoy the podcast. So, as always, we like to start off the show with a little delve into what we've been playing. I'll start things off this time around, Mark.
Yeah, go for it.
I have been playing more of Final Fantasy VIII. I'm about 2/3 of the way through Disc 2, I think. I've had a few mishaps because I obviously, as you know, I'm well into the card minigame. I had a few mishaps where I lost some major cards. So if I lose a card, I've got to quit out and load up that save, man, because I'm not losing that card. So I've had to do that quite a lot. But
Blimey.
yeah, but I'm
Commitment, though.
I know. I take it seriously. I've been enjoying that a lot. What else have I been playing? I've been playing Control, which is a game by Remedy, I believe, the makers of Alan Wake and Quantum Break and all those sort of games. And it's a really cool, weird vibe. I feel like it could run slightly better. I feel like it would be great on the Xbox One X or the Xbox Series X, because it's a little bit choppy at times, and it has that thing where if you press the pause button in the middle of combat, the game is not happy with you. It's like, oh, and it takes like 5 seconds to load the pause menu. So that's not ideal, but I like the weird vibe of it and the psychedelic kind of weird stuff that's going on, and the character models are really awesome in it. They take a lot of time over them. And I think it's mo-capped.
Yeah, I played a bit of it, but I think I sent a message to you saying maybe don't play that yet.
Yeah,
because of the performance.
Yeah.
But also, I played a bit of it and was incredibly bored by it. I have to be honest.
Yeah.
But I know I have a friend who has who managed to get hold of an RTX 3070,
Woo!
and is just like got the settings all on you know, ray tracing and everything. He's just like, whoa, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
So I think that game is just it. To me, it barely played like a game. It's just a tech demo for ray tracing.
Yeah.
So I think if you want the full experience of that, because like you might have fun in the actual game, but I think it's more about the atmosphere and the way it looks. It comes across to me as just purely a tech demo. Like, wait until you got an Xbox Series.
Yeah, it's very atmospheric and trippy and that sort of thing. And I like the way they meld actual live action filming of actors in with the game, and they do some fun stuff with that. Yeah. And if anyone listening has watched the show Twin Peaks, which was a very weird psychedelic show in the late 80s, early 90s, it has that sort of strange vibe to it. And I do like Remedy's previous games. Alan Wake was fun and a little bit over dramatic, but good fun. So yeah, I'm enjoying that. And this is with the caveat, obviously, that there's loads of new games that have come to Xbox Game Pass. So I haven't paid money for these games. I just get them as part of my Game Pass subscription. I definitely wouldn't have bought Control had it not been on Game Pass. And sort of subsequent to that, I never played the campaign in Star Wars Battlefront 2. So I've downloaded that and started playing it, and I'm a bit bored. So I didn't really carry on.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just as in, like, if there's a Star Wars game that I can play, I'm gonna download it and play it because I'm obsessed with Star Wars, and anything that's deemed to be canon within the Star Wars universe, I like to be fairly up on. But it's just very, very shallow gameplay, and it's just not a lot to it. But I want to finish it to see where the story's going, because it's set after Return of the Jedi, which is a really fascinating time period. So I do want to keep going with it, but like you played the first like 3 levels as the main female character, and then all of a sudden you're Luke Skywalker. And normally I'd be like, oh great, love Luke Skywalker, but it just feels so gimmicky and like a cash in, because like it just doesn't feel good running around as him as a Jedi, because the whole game isn't committed to controlling a Jedi, like something like Jedi Fallen Order, because it's a mix of so many play styles. It's just like, we'll just like smash the right trigger to swing the lightsaber, and it just all feels a little bit weird. But yeah, I might do a little bit more of that, but probably won't. The last thing, I have just got Cyberpunk 2077, but
yeah,
we're not going to dive too much into that because we spent last week talking about Cyberpunk. So we're not going to go too much into it. But what I will say is that game it's something on the base Xbox One. Let me tell you that. Mark,
yeah,
what have you been playing?
Cyberpunk 2077. Obviously, we're not going to talk any more about that. Next week's episode will be a Cyberpunk episode, primarily because obviously it's a big hype game that we want to talk about. and there's probably even more to talk about. But
Yes.
it came out literally like 2 days ago, so we have not put enough time into it to talk about it at great length.
You've made your character though, haven't you?
Made a character. I've got a couple of hours in. I'm really enjoying the atmosphere. My technical experience is far more positive, but it's also very interesting. Especially if you like techie benchmarky chat like I do. But we won't go into that. But basically, it's oh boy, this game making my PC stretch its legs.
I'm not surprised.
I think if you've got a 20 or 30 series card, you're in a happy place right now because you can use some of the NVIDIA tricks they have up their sleeve to make it run even smoother. But yeah, oh boy, yeah, it's good looking. Even on my settings.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing with me. I could tell that it is gonna be a good looking game. Like even the shit show that I've got, I was like, wow, this is pretty. So yeah, I bet you're looking at some pretty special stuff.
And genuinely not even half as special as it could look.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So before Cyberpunk release, I was playing more Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. It's just great. Really enjoying it. I've unlocked more characters to play as. I'm not going to spoil who they are, but they're very silly and it's good fun.
Okay.
And I actually, so the Switch has been stretching its legs a little bit, which is quite nice. So I ended up playing some just Mario Kart 8 Deluxe online, just to play Mario
I saw you were
Kart.
doing
It's really
that.
chilled and fun. I was just kind of up for it. I just hadn't played it in a while and was enjoying that. I also went back to Smash Bros and busted out a GameCube pad. I went onto that hateful adventure mode. It's just awful and tedious and boring.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, oh yeah, I never completed this, and I've just been like chipping away at all the challenges. Man, it's so boring. But I mean, I haven't completed it, but like I did quite a lot.
Yeah.
In 2 or 3 hours. But that was sort of fun just to go back to that game. But that adventure mode, man, I can sod
It's
off.
pretty dull. Yeah.
Tabletop simulator, something I mentioned, I think the last
Indeed,
week.
yeah.
I played with 2 or 3 other friends playing some actual board games rather than battleships and Guess Who. And it's really intuitive. It's really fun. Just to go over a couple games we played Betrayal at the House on the Hill, which is like a sort of horror RPG thing. It's a lot of fun. It would take me too long to explain the game, but just go take a look at Betrayal at the House on the Hill. It starts as a sort of everyone's on the same team exploration, and then the second half of the game is suddenly like this RPG where there's a lot of reading and like the game completely changes. Anyway, there's a lot of fun. As well as Sushi Go, which is a really simple card game. Love Letter, which is again a really like simple card game but really fun. And a board game called Flamme Rouge, which is a board game,
Flamme
but it's
Rouge?
about cycling.
Oh.
And I was like to my mate Tom, I was like, why are we playing a game about cycling? He's like, nah, trust me, this is great. And it was. It's a really like simple. It's about like controlling 2 cyclists and just getting them around the board. But like the mechanic is so like quick and simple, and like it's like a little bit tactical when you're trying to work out what card they're going to play. It's great. Anyway,
Is it dice based?
I won't go any further into that. No, it is card based.
Oh, okay. That's fun.
But it's a lot of fun.
Great.
Also, Doom Eternal came to Game Pass on the PC.
That it did.
And I was like, hell yeah, loved Doom 2016. So I gave this a go. And I mean, it's been put down now because of Cyberpunk, but it's more of the same in the best way possible. But can't put my finger on why I massively prefer 2016 over it. And I don't know why. I don't know how you felt.
I potentially agree with you in that I didn't complete it. I probably got like 6 or 7 levels in, and I was just like, I get it, and was enjoying it. There's a lot more platforming there's a lot more sort of the levels design is slightly more open. I don't know if that means anything. But I can't tell you either, I probably am with you.
Yeah, the graphics are a little bit more sort of pasty. It's not that it's bad looking, but I liked the way the first Doom looked. And then it's just got a slightly different look to it that I'm not super keen on. And then there are more mechanics and things that don't necessarily add anything for me. The weapons are great. The sort of extra add-ons you get, attachments are great. But it's just not. I'm not like buzzing along with it as much as I did with 2016. That it just felt tighter. Maybe that's what it is.
Also, like like you said, it's more of the same. So it's you've sort of had that wow moment of the first one and the heavy metal and the gory glory kills and all that stuff. So it's like, yeah, I've done a lot of that and loved it, but you've sort of had that experience. Do you know what I mean? So maybe it is just the fact that it's more of the same. So you're a bit like, okay, great, but meh.
Maybe, but I could equally play it again or want more of it. But this, for some reason, isn't massively doing it. But hey, it's not that it's bad. I will get back into it at some point. Yeah. But just it was great to see it pop up on Game Pass.
Yes.
That's it from me. Yeah.
Great. Well, we're busy boys. So yeah, we haven't got. We're not going to even really bother with other gaming news this week. There may be some sort of tidbits around, but a lot of the build-up and focus in the gaming industry was to the Game Awards this week. So we thought we'd skip out on the news and just focus on the Game Awards. So as we mentioned at the top of the show, we're going to look at all of the awards, talk about some of them, maybe not all of them in detail, and we're also going to talk about all of the reveals and various things that happened around the awards. I mean, should we start off with just our general impressions of the whole 3-hour show?
Yeah. Do you want me to start, or do you want to go ahead?
You start.
Alrighty. It was late. Do
you think we would have felt differently if it wasn't so late?
No, definitely not. I would have wanted to go do something else, if I'm honest. So, Jeff Keighley, God bless him. He's a great character. I think he does a really good job of hosting. I've got absolutely nothing against Jeff Keighley as a host. That's the first thing I'll get out of the way. The problem with the show is it was about an hour too long, and it felt very stretched. It was like too little butter over too much bread. It was just very thin on the ground. I don't know whether that's because it's been maybe a bit of a lax year because of everything going on, but
yeah, I would have thought
it was too long. Like, cut an hour out, man. What's going on? That's the first thing I'll say. The main takeaway was Nintendo didn't show up at all.
No, sir.
There was a Smash character that we'll go into later. There was some music from Nintendo, but that was it. They did not turn up. There weren't really any big wow announcements. There were a couple that definitely were like, oh, great, but like not anything that was like going to sideswipe you. In terms of the show itself, spread very thin. The first hour, and I'm including the pre-show, so this is actually 3.5 hour show. So the pre-show in the first half hour, it was like, boom, hi, how are we doing? Great, oh, exciting show. Award, boom, little featurette, and it was great. I was like, oh man, hitting the ground running, this is great. We're just cracking on. Here we go. Like, I could settle in for some of this. And then it was like someone just like decided to make a gigantic wall of sandbags in front of the steam train and just went, deal with this. And it basically just, the show just like hit a wall, and it was utter dirge for the rest of it. It was slow paced. There was nothing of interest. Lots of like boring side segments, and it was late, which doesn't help. Like by the time we hit like 2 a.m., like you and I in particular were just like, please end. Please end.
Yeah, I was so tired.
It was not entertaining. Yeah. How do you feel apart from tired?
Yeah, similar. And yeah, I think it didn't help because a lot of the awards were fairly predictable and a lot of the reveals were fairly pedestrian, and I don't know, like, sounds weird to say, but like, obviously new game announcements, if it's a new game, I won't have heard of them. But like, a lot of the games that were announced, I've never heard of them. And I know that's a stupid thing to say, but a lot of it was just like, what is this? Who cares about this? I'm sorry, but and a lot of them didn't look or feel like AAA big budget games or even like big games from well-known studios. Yeah. It just felt like, and like we said, benefit of the doubt has to be given because this year has been a garbage truck on fire for game development. It's been COVID, like things have changed. Developers are having to work from home, which is not ideal. But I feel like they were scraping the barrel at times with some of the stuff that they were revealing. Having said that, there were definitely some stuff that I am interested in and I'm excited about, and we will get onto that shortly. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I think maybe if I'd been watching it in the background at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I would have been like, oh yeah, dip in every now and then. Okay, this is cool. But it was late at night. It was boring. It was predictable. It wasn't really doing it for me. And Mark, I've got to be honest, throughout the whole thing, I had the Disney investors meeting streaming on another tab, and that was way more interesting than the Game
So
Awards.
I was tweeting along with the Game Awards show, and I completely forgot that like Marvel, a lot of the Disney and Marvel stuff was coming out at the same time. But I had two Twitter tabs open, one specifically the Game Awards and one to keep tabs on other stuff, and I was really enjoying seeing all the Marvel stuff that was by far and away more interesting. And in fact, my final tweet of the night was the trailer for Loki was better than the entire 3 hour of the Game Awards show. What a slog. Which is true. Go watch the Loki thing. So good to see Tom Hiddleston back. He smashes Loki out the park. I might have to get Disney Plus to watch that and catch up on The Mandalorian because it just looked great. And genuinely, that one announcement alone was more interesting. But what we're going to do here is to refrain from making this like a 2 hour pod. We're going to go through all the awards, but we're not necessarily going to talk about them unless we have a particular opinion. And then we're going to go through the announcements and teasers, not all of which, is that English? All of which are not there because, as Bellum just clearly stated, a lot of the games, we don't know what they are. We don't really know what like we would have nothing to talk about. So these are the announcements and trailers that like at least make sense to most of us, and Bellum and I in particular, and we'll sort of talk about those. We've already given our overview on the show. If you need to desperately go see every single detail, of course, go watch the VOD on Twitch, go find it on YouTube, the Game Awards, or just go look at the Twitter at the Game Awards handle and like find all your information there, because we're not going to go through 3 hours worth of material. That would be mad and probably more boring than the show itself. So the awards then, let's just crack on. These are in order of appearance on the Game Awards show itself. The first few were sort of done in the pre-show show. I don't know why. Maybe they just wanted to crack through ones that they thought people didn't care about. Yeah. But anyway, so the Best Score award went to Final Fantasy VII Remake. Neither of us have played this.
No.
Any thoughts?
Flipping love the theme. Flipping love the theme tune. The all of the soundtrack of the original Final Fantasy VII. I often listen to some of the tracks on that. So if this soundtrack is available, which is basically proper orchestrations of the Final Fantasy VII tunes, then I want to listen to that. So yeah, I mean, as someone who loves Final Fantasy VII, happy that one. Probably don't have a massive opinion on it. So there you go. I feel bad for other developers and other composers because this is a score that already exists. I don't think it should have been on the list. Even if it is like a redone score, I think there are other games that have fresh scores that have been made for fresh new games that deserve recognition and shouldn't be based on an old score from 1997 or whatever we're looking back to. So I think it's cheating. So it should go to like someone else. But if it's better though,
I think it's irrelevant. It's a score that already exists.
Yeah, well.
The next one was Best Action Adventure Game. Went to The Last of Us 2. You're going to be hearing that game a lot this evening. Predictable.
Yes, sir.
Best Family Game. No shock really. Animal Crossing: New Horizons, which I think is pretty fair.
Deserved winner. Huge game. I thought the only other game that could have challenged it was probably Fall Guys, because obviously that was huge for a lot of the year and was massive. But Animal Crossings did wonders for Nintendo and is probably part of the reason why they have gotten away with, they haven't gotten away with it with being so quiet this year because they've been dining off that game's success. So no surprises there.
Best performance, as in voice actor performance, went to the lovely Laura Bailey as Abby in The Last of Us 2. So more about her performance rather than the game itself, I assume. But obviously that game being a more sort of story-based theatrical thing kind of lends it to probably being more pointed to performances. So I guess you could say that maybe it was always going to be a bit of a shoe-in. But Laura Bailey is, I mean, her, like literally go on her IMDb. She's done so much voice work. She is incredible. So it's probably a well-deserved win. regardless of the game.
Yeah, totally agree with everything you said. She's very good. It's a staple of the Naughty Dog games, being very character and story led. And they, from everything I've heard and know about the plot of The Last of Us 2, it seems to make a lot of sense that she won this.
Yeah. Best ongoing game, which basically means a game that is like constantly receiving updates and supports games of service, that kind of thing. Destiny 2 is on there. Probably doesn't deserve to win because they've screwed it. Bungie have screwed it recently, which is a shame. But it went to No Man's Sky, a game I can't really comment on. So maybe, I know you've played a bit, so maybe you have your comments. The only thing I would say about it is, obviously when No Man's Sky first released, they lied about a lot of the game. And they released a completely broken, pointless, wandering, boring piece of nonsense that everyone basically went, what the hell is this? However, again, I've not played it, but it sounds like this could be a well-deserved win and a sort of redemption for No Man's Sky, because I know that they have been working hard to bring the game up to the standard that they promised in the first place, and it has been a very long and ongoing, release that they've been working towards. So perhaps this is well-deserved now, but what are your thoughts on No Man's Sky?
I totally understand why it's won. I dipped into it recently with some friends, and it's a little bit overwhelming, and you need to really sink a lot of time into it to get anywhere. It's not the sort of game that it's not like, Call of Duty where you jump in and play some rounds. It's like, I need to invest a lot of time into this game. But it is incredible, the scope and what you are able to do in terms of just hop in your ship and go from planet to planet and experience incredible things. It is mind-blowing. I agree with you that it had a very torrid start, this game, and pissed off a hell of a lot of people, rightly so. But it seems to have had this quite incredible redemption arc, and kudos to Sean Murray for turning that game around. But started off, people weren't happy, but people love that game, and it's got a thriving community. So in terms of an ongoing game, it's definitely doing exactly that, isn't it?
Yeah, so I suppose well deserved. Next up was Best Art Direction. Not surprised by this. Ghost of Tsushima. Tsushima? What's it called? Because I've written a joke here.
Yeah, Tsushima.
I couldn't basically I couldn't spell it, so I've just put a load of T's, H's, U's, and S's. Again, a game we've not played because we're not PS4 owners, but looking at gameplay, screenshots, all that sort of thing, we've both looked at it in the past and gone, oh hell yeah, that looks pretty. So not a surprise.
Yeah, it looks beautiful. Yeah. No, not at all. And setting a game in feudal Japan is always going to be a fascinating time period, and they just absolutely nailed the aesthetic. Yeah. So
best action game, Hades. I can't really remember what was in the nominations for this one. So I've not played Hades, so it's probably up to you to comment on this. But in terms of what it was up against,
I'm very happy with that. I think it's a deserving winner. Obviously, it's very fun to play, but it's an incredibly rewarding game, and I think it's not just about being fun and the action being good. It's about, for me anyway, it's about making the action feel rewarding and making you want to do it more. And I definitely feel like Hades did that, and the way and we've talked about it in the past. Here you go. Yeah, up against Doom Eternal, Half-Life Alyx, Neo 2, and is that Streets of Rage as well?
Yeah,
Streets of Rage 4. Yeah, out of that list, I mean, you could have made an argument for Doom Eternal. Obviously, Half-Life Alyx is a hugely, people went mad for that game. I sadly haven't been able to play it because neither of you because of VR. But if I'm sure if I played Half-Life Alyx, I absolutely love Half-Life, so I would have enjoyed that. But yeah, I've played Hades, had so much fun with it. Sort of petered out on it a little bit just because other games, because of Game Pass basically. But I really enjoyed that game, and the way that it dealt with character abilities and unlocking new abilities was just really clever. So yeah, deserved winner in my camp.
Oh, great. Okay, yeah, I can see how against that lineup it makes sense. Neo 2 probably a bit niche. Half-Life Alyx, not VR hasn't had a big booming pickup yet, so we're not quite in that zone where it's like a larger majority has played it. Streets of Rage 4, it's not really. If you like that kind of thing, cool, but it's like an arcadey thing that's been done before. It's not really breaking any new ground. And with Doom Eternal, again, like we were just talking about that, again, it's not really breaking new ground. It's more of the same. in a good way, but Hades is probably one that felt the most fresh and interesting. So probably the correct decision, I'd say.
Yeah, I think Doom Eternal would have had to really reinvent the wheel to kind of blow Doom 2016 out of the water. And they didn't really do that. What's next?
Best VR/AR. Of course, Half-Life Alyx. Again, we don't have VR, but it certainly looks like the most polished VR experience you can have. No qualms about this one. I think it's probably a highly deserved winner.
You know that the first Half-Life game in 10 years or whatever, more than that, they would have put a lot of time and a lot of care into that game. So I can only assume that it's brilliant. The only other one in that category that I thought had a chance was Star Wars Squadrons, just from everything we've heard about how great that is in VR. But
true.
It's going to be difficult to beat a Half-Life title, isn't it?
Best sport/racing game. These titles were a bit thin on the ground. It was like a dirt game and something else. Anyway, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 won.
Yeah, boy.
Not a huge surprise. Excellent games back in the day. Haven't played the remasters. I'm sure they're great fun. Go Sports.
Well up for that. Well up for them winning. I also love that Jeff Keighley just went, congratulations, Tony.
Yeah. Congratulations, Tony. He really is my friend. The next up was the most anticipated game. Zero surprise here. Elden Ring, after which Jeff did say, Elden Ring. Yes, I really did say it. Because obviously it's a bit of a meme that it's like a MacGuffin. It doesn't really exist. It's never going to happen.
Well, yeah, and also that so many people were screaming for there to be some footage or at least some mention of Elden Ring in this whole show because people are just foaming at the mouth for something. So I think that was also a nod to that. There was like, there you go. That's your tidbit of Elden Ring you get in this show. I mentioned it.
Anyway, best narrative. Surprise, surprise. The Last of Us Part 2. I don't think we need to say anything about that. No. Best multiplayer game. A game from 2 years ago. Among Us. Such a strange thing for... it's great fun. It's social deduction. Always, those kind of social deduction games are always fun. It is a great game to play with friends and stuff. So in that regard, it's not a huge surprise. But when you've got more polished sort of, they're all FPSs to be honest with you, but Apex Legends and Modern Warfare and that kind of thing. It's like, this little indie game with Bean People from 2 years ago.
It's always great. It's always great to see a little indie studio up against things like Call of Duty and coming out on top. Yeah. I'm still playing it with my group of friends from home. Like a lot of them are massively lapsed gamers, and it's not a massively gamey game, as you said. It's social deduction, so it's all about the chat really. So like so many people can play it, and you can get it on your phone. All this stuff, like it's uniting people in a way that more traditional games don't really. And I'm sure a lot of its popularity has lapsed since the huge boom a couple of months ago. But yeah, I'm well happy for them that they won this. But weird that it was 2018 game.
Yeah, a little bit. Sticking with indie for just a moment. Best indie game, Hades. Again, I think I might have to look up what it was up against to kind of compare those notes.
Yeah, off the top of my head, it's not a massive surprise.
No, not really.
Yeah, we've talked about Hades a lot, and it is. I absolutely loved it, so I'm no surprise it's one there. Again, I suppose Fall Guys could have had a chance because that was so huge.
Don't know anything about Carrion, if I'm honest. Spiritfarer, I've not played. I think you played a little bit, did you, Bellum? And Splunky
I played
too.
It's real. In fact, I've played. I know about Carrion. It's where you basically play this massive alien glob monster thing, and you play the baddie, and you go around. It's made by Devolver, so it's like a weird, funny game where you go around killing people. It looks fun, but yeah, I've played a lot of these games, and I think Hades is the best. So there you go.
Yeah, cool. Best audio design, The Last of Us Part 2 again. Again, I feel sorry for other developers and other audio specialists out there. It's one of those things where, again, I've not played it. I'm sure it's a great audio mix, and I'm sure the sound design is fantastic. but it feels like it's such a big story-based AAA title that it's like almost a shoe-in for these rather than, yes, this has the best audio design. Because I bet you there are some amazing indie games with just super immersive like music and sounds and things that like probably should get a look in and just won't because The Last of Us 2 exists. So I can't really say.
Where was Tetris Effect? That's what I want to know with the banging beats.
Yeah, man.
Tetris Effect should have won that.
But hey, I mean, can't really comment on whether it was decent or not. But there you go, Last of Us Part 2 again. Next up, best role-playing game, Final Fantasy VII Remake.
This one I totally understand because people love that game, and I obviously am a huge Final Fantasy nerd, so great. But I would say that this is particularly, apart from Persona 5, which I thought was going to win it, just because people seem to think that game is incredible. I think it looks like a bit of a weak year for RPGs. Obviously, Final Fantasy VII, incredible. I'm sort of taking it slightly differently because it is a remake. But they totally reimagined it. So again, kudos to them. Totally understand it. But it was a little bit of a weak year for RPGs from the nominations.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, Genshin Impact. I'm sure there are loads of people that love that. I've got friends that love Persona 5. For me, it's like I occasionally watch anime. I haven't really watched a lot of anime since I was in my teens. But like, anime is a great artistic expression and platform. For me, it's like to anime. I tried playing Persona 4 and was just like, I can't really deal with this. Wasteland 3, you played it. Again, I'm sure it's fantastic. It's kind of the original Fallout as a vibe. I'd love to give it a go at some point, and I will do. And Yakuza Yakuza is just not a series of games that entices or interests me at all and looks a bit mental. So it's kind of no surprise here. Final Fantasy VII, the original is a fantastic game. It's aged very poorly in terms of graphical fidelity. And the remake is, I mean, people love it. It's not even finished and it's won awards, but there you go. Next up was Best Sim/Strategy. Quite funny that Sim and Strategy is just like slammed into one award, to be honest, because in my mind, those two things are potentially quite different. But hey ho, the winner was Microsoft Flight Simulator. So if you're a fan of strategy games, it's not really one of them. Considering this was, up against XCOM, Chimera Squad, Gears Tactics, Desperados 3, and Crusader Kings 3. So I think that award is a bit of a weird one. But if there was a separate sim category, yeah, Microsoft Flight Simulator X. Sure, makes sense to me. It's kind of amazing.
I feel as though it's like these are two genres that have smaller fan bases. Therefore, we're just going to shove them into one.
Yeah, I'd split them up. I don't get that. Anyway, next up.
Yeah, it is weird.
Players' Voice Award went to Ghost of Tsushima again.
Yeah, that was basically where people on Twitter, etc., and could just go onto the website and vote for their favourite game. It's basically the people's vote game of the year. And yeah, I guess a bit of a shock, but I think there is still a large community of people that are quite salty about Last of Us Part 2 because of some character and story decisions. So that might have had something to do with it. But yeah, I definitely expected Last of Us to win this, but Ghosts won it.
Again, not played it, can't really comment. Well done, Ghost of Tsushima, for grabbing a couple of awards there. Best fighting game went to Mortal Kombat 11.
Mortal Kombat!
It's kind of hard to comment on this with any like authority because I've sort of stopped playing fighting games, and the main reason is people are too freaking good at them.
Yeah.
And back in the day, like Tekken 3, with your mate on the couch, incredible. That for you, that might have been a Street Fighter. For someone else, it might have been Soul Calibur. In fact, it was also for me Soul Calibur 2. So like that's amazing because like your skill level probably isn't too far apart, and like you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. There's like fun to be had there. People play these games religiously, and if you go online, you're going to get your ass juggled in the air. You won't be pushing a button. They're a waste of money in my opinion because there's no fun to be had. And you might be like, well, sure, play it with some mates. Yeah, but like if a mate has bought it, they're probably very good as well. I can only think of like maybe a couple of mates, hi Charlie, who like would play like Dragon Ball Z Fighters or something, and genuinely like it wouldn't really be a competition. Do you know what I mean? There's no point. There is no point me playing these games.
Yeah, these days it's sort of a genre that is nowadays, because couch multiplayer, or, you know, inviting mates around to sit on and play a game with you just isn't really a thing these days, sadly. It's become a genre that's really only for the hardcore fighting gamer, unless it is a property that you are invested in, like DC Universe, because you're a fan of the DC characters, or Dragon Ball. I'm a big Dragon Ball fan, so I might get the game, that vibe. But in general, like, it used to be that I would buy a fighting game because I knew it was a good game for when my mates came round. So I used to buy like the new Tekken for the PS1 because I was like, that'll be a good game to have for mates, that sort of thing. Whereas now it is like, I'm getting this game because I'm going to take people apart online because I'm really good at fighting games, or I'm going to be an esports player. Yeah, it's not a casual game anymore, is it? Really?
It's just not a category for me. Having said that, the nominees, to me, this looks a bit thin on the ground. I've not even heard of most of them. Grand Blue Fantasy versus, not heard of it. Street Fighter 5 Champion Edition probably didn't win because it's again another remask version of Street Fighter. We've seen this a million times where it's the same number, whether it's Street Fighter 2, 3, 4 or 5, and then just a colon something. A load of words. So I can understand why that didn't win. One Punch Man, a hero nobody knows. I love the anime. So much fun. Can't recommend it highly enough. It's an anime that basically takes the piss out of anime in a really good way. Again, I haven't played the game. And another one called Under Night In Birth Exe Late CLR. No idea what any of that means. Extremely
that is the most Japanese game title I've ever seen.
Extremely anime, but not in the One Punch Man fun sense. So probably very niche. Mortal Kombat, a heavy hitter, pun intended, in the fighting game sort of arena. So no surprise really. So yeah, well done Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Next award was Innovation in Accessibility, which I think was explained as but essentially making the game easier to play for people with difficulties.
Yes, yeah. Basically, anybody with any form of disability, whether that be deaf, if you have a physical disability, you're restricted in what you can do with your hands, anything like that. It's basically the game that has the best options for players. And the best thing about this award was that the winners for The Last of Us, one of the two people accepting it was stood outside of the room through a window, and the other person was sat on a chair indoors. But for some reason, you could hear the person who was outside behind the window way clearer than the guy who was sat in front of the webcam. It was all just really bizarre. And for some reason, the fact that it was to do with accessibility just made it all even better. So go and track that down if you're interested. But yeah, Last of Us Part 2 won that.
Best mobile game, Among Us. No surprise, I guess. They tried to hype up mobile gaming as if it's getting really good. Don't worry, it isn't. Basically, mobile games are still, sort of horrific to play on in terms of the way they play, and most of them are behind like either paywalls or timed walls, whereas you press something and it says, cool, that'll be ready in 24 hours, and you can't actually play the game. However, there are a couple of decent ones out there. Among Us, definitely one of them. Very easy to play, easy to run. And the version of Call of Duty, I think it's just called Call of Duty Mobile, is actually very good, I hear. I've got a friend who has a dad who plays it a lot, and apparently it's just really easy, really good.
Yeah, I thought you were just going to stop with, I have a friend who has a dad.
Next was Best Game Direction. And I mean, yeah, it's no surprise. The Last of Us Part 2 again, really.
Yeah, could have been Ghost of Tsushima as well, because like we mentioned before, it's a very beautiful game. But yeah, makes a lot of sense. It's a very filmic game, a very story-led game. So in terms of amount of direction required, it's probably one of those that needed the most and seems to have pulled it off really well. So yeah, like we said, no surprises there.
And finally, Game of the Year. I'll be honest, through quite a few of these awards, I just started writing Last of Us Part 2 and was correct to, because it saved me time and meant I didn't have to, wait and then do it in time with the show. And of course, The Last of Us Part 2. So I guess final thoughts on the awards. That is all the awards that were announced during the show. What are your sort of final thoughts, especially with that coming out as Game of the Year?
I am not surprised. Well, part of me is just because there was a big backlash on the ever toxic internet when the game came out. There were a lot of people not happy with various decisions made. Obviously, the developers are entitled to do whatever the hell they want with their characters, but a lot of people felt personally offended just because they grew very attached to Joel and Ellie in the first game. So I suppose as a fan they have a right to be upset, but they have no right to sort of bash the developers in the way that they did for the decisions that they made. But yeah, I'm surprised that. But sorry, at the end of the day, the internet doesn't make this decision. It's a jury of people within the games industry that vote for this award, and it's a hugely well critically acclaimed game. So no surprises there. I think it is probably as far as I know, having not played it, a hugely deserving game. And all of the awards were fairly predictable, and all things considered, it being a terrible year and especially a weird game for games. There were some great games on that list. What I do predict that next year will be a very weird year for games, I should say, because a lot of the development for these games had already been finished pre-COVID on the most part. So we'll see what happens next year. It could be very interesting.
Yeah, nothing really to add. It was definitely very predictable, which, predictability did not add any excitement to an already very long and dull show. The other games that are up for Game of the Year, apart from Ghost of Tsushima, to be honest with you, the other four I would have been like, really? And those other four were Hades, Animal Crossing, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Doom Eternal. I mean, if either of those four would have had one, I would have been like, that's just, what's going on? Are we just being contrarian? What's going on?
Yeah.
But then again, The Last of Us Part 2 winning is boring. but hey,
yeah,
I don't know, man. I mean,
I think my very last point on it would be this as the sort of final game awards of this generation. I think we have to give a huge tip of the old hat to Sony and all of Sony studios, because if you were to look back at all of the big winning games of this generation, you would see that a huge proportion of both the nominees and the winners have been Sony games. This year is no exception. Last of Us Part 2 and Ghost of Tsushima both winning big. And if you were to look back over this generation, I can guarantee there will not be a single Xbox exclusive game that is probably not even in the top 5 for Game of the Year. I'm pulling that out my arse. I'm sure Gears of War 5 might have been nominated last year or whatever. But in terms of overall Game of the Year winners, Sony has been dominant in terms of that battle. Obviously, Nintendo have had a few wins, and there's been some great PC games along the way. But the caliber of games that the Sony Studios has been putting out is really second to none. So a huge tip of the cap to them.
Absolutely. Well said. So the final thing we're going to go through before we sign off this episode is just some of the announcements and teasers. Again, just to reiterate, we were not going through every single one, primarily because a lot of them were just like, what's this? What's that? Don't care about that. What the hell is this? And if we were to spend time describing a lot of these things, it wouldn't be time well spent. So here are sort of a cherry-picked few that, we have a little bit to talk about, and so here we go. The first one is the announcement of the next Smash Ultimate Fighter. This was basically the only thing that Nintendo turned up with for the entire Game Awards, shockingly.
In terms of a first-party thing, it 100% was.
Very, very bizarre. But the next fighter is going to be Sephiroth.
Absolutely superb. I might have to get this gamer battle pass for this character alone. I'm obsessed with Sephiroth.
Yeah, I think it's a really good choice. It never occurred to me that, like, when playing the game, because obviously there's so many flipping characters in the game, it never occurred to me that Cloud was the only Final Fantasy character in there. And if you're going to pair someone with Cloud, are you going to just dip into, like, Final Fantasy 10 suddenly or something, or 9 or 8? Like, wouldn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I would have loved it if they had got one of the other main characters from a different Final Fantasy game in there. But if you're thinking about the most iconic Final Fantasy game and also the most iconic villain from a Final Fantasy game, it has to be Sephiroth. So it
Absolutely
made a lot
right.
of sense. And like, they did some cool things in that little reveal trailer, like that moment where it looked like he'd stabbed Mario through the chest and he was like holding him up, and then it just revealed that he had got him by his like dungarees. Yeah, we were like, holy shit, they went there.
Brutal.
But yeah, they did some fun things in the reveal trailer, and kudos to Square Enix for giving them that character. That's like very unexpected, and yeah, I'm well up for that. I might have to shell out for that battle pass now.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense, not just to have another Final Fantasy character so Cloud isn't on his own, but to make it an evil character, so that there's more balance between what we perceive as good characters and evil characters and villains, if you like that. So that's really cool. Also, I think it makes sense in terms of the Final Fantasy VII canon. I said this last night to you guys that, who else would you really get? Because when you think about it, like, I guess the other sort of big character would be like maybe Barrett, but like probably Tifa. And Tifa would just be another like kickboxing character and would be too much like Little Mac or something.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense. Have another sort of magical sword guy in there, and he's a big name, so that's great. Can't wait to give him a whirl.
I would have been up for getting Whacker in there and chucking a blitzball at people.
Give me the blitzball. That'd be great. Well up for that.
That would have been because that would have been such a different character type as well.
Yeah, that's an amazing idea. The second one was an announcement for a game called, I think we'd heard about this a while ago, but it's called Back 4 Blood.
Yeah.
Which is a 4-player co-op spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. And it is made by, I'm not sure if it's the entire team, but it's certainly members of the original Left 4 Dead team.
Yes, basically they, Valve were like, we're not going to make Left 4 Dead 3. So the team were like, okay, we'll go and make it ourselves. So they've basically gone off, and instead of calling it Left 4 Dead 3, they've called it Back 4 Blood.
Yeah, kind of a great name, actually. Left 4 Dead was always like a bit of a throwaway experience. I know that like you played it to death with your mates. I never really played a whole lot of it, but what I did play, I did enjoy. But it was very much a sort of dip in. I'll play some of that with you guys, and that was kind of it for me. This looks like a grittier, more bloody, visceral version of Left 4 Dead. Whether that's a good thing or not is to be seen, really. I guess a lot of people will enjoy that sort of thing, but I think Left 4 Dead had a sort of slightly more cartoony, silly aesthetic that perhaps people will miss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, yeah. I can see myself getting it and playing it with my friends. If whenever it comes out and what console it comes to, hopefully it'll be cross-play. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to convince my friends to get the same console as me, because a lot of them haven't had a console in a while, but they love Left 4 Dead. So it's just so much fun to go through that, just shooting endless zombies with people. I know you play
Killing Floor 2.
Killing Floor 2, like, it's just that satisfaction of just killing hordes of zombies. It is fun. Although a weird amount of like zombie or like at least demonic creature based games across the whole of the Game Awards. There were so many zombie games.
A boring, concerning amount of zombie games, if anything. But like you say, if this is crossplay, I'll get it. I'll definitely play with you. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, 100%.
The next announcement. Hey, why don't you do this one? Because this is kind of your baby now.
Oh, this got me. Yeah, this really got me, man. So we've heard a lot about what most of Xbox's recently acquired game studios are actually working on. Like, we got the reveal of a new Fable game, we got the reveal of the Obsidian new RPG, various things like that. Some exciting stuff, but who knows when they're coming. We now know what the sort of final big first-party Xbox studio is making. The Initiative, they are called, and it is a new Perfect Dark game. Holy shit balls, I'm excited, because It looks very much like a return to the character design from the N64 Perfect Dark. We got the shot of the camera going up over the top of the building and revealing the Datadyne logo, which of course was the company that Joanna Dark worked for. It looks, it was a cinematic trailer, so we know very, very little about the game. But if they nail it and it's good, which I don't know, the original Perfect Dark, I'm not talking about Perfect Dark Zero here because that thing was an abomination, but the original on the N64 had a very great, it was made by Rare. It was pretty much a reskinned GoldenEye, but set in the future. And it was just very tongue-in-cheek and silly and fun. Like a lot of the gameplay later became the Time Splitters series. Like it was a very, very similar vibe. So if it still has all of that, and is a good, fun game to play, I'm not expecting it to be a Naughty Dog style third-person story-led game. I'm expecting it to be a silly, fun shooter. And if it is that done really well with great multiplayer, heck, it's another string to their bow. And I hope I wish them every success in the world. I don't have the highest hopes in the world for a Perfect Dark game, but if it's good, that's great news.
Yeah, wait and see. The next one was a gameplay trailer for Warhammer 40,000, The Dark Tide. I've put this on the list because I played some of the Warhammer Vermintide, which is a sort of 4-player co-op horde resist the wave situation. It was resist the wave. It was a lot of fun. The gameplay was really solid, but there just wasn't enough to the game to keep me playing. Unfortunately. But it was a lot of fun. So I was very interested to see what was going to go on in this trailer. The trailer looks very similar to Vermintide, too similar. I was expecting to be walking around in Space Marine suits or perhaps a Tau robotic suit. No, they just looked like blokes with their shirt off. So I was a bit confused how this is Warhammer 40,000. But as I said in the past, I like Warhammer, but I'm not deep into the lore and all that sort of thing. So maybe this is a sort of a part of the lore that I don't recognize and therefore doesn't resonate with me. So I'll have to see, but it just at the moment it looks very Vermintide-esque indeed. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I can't really say.
Yeah, I don't really know how to feel about it. In that, I think it's going to take me a lot to play a Warhammer game, just because I have no affinity to the franchise. But from the look of it, it just looks kind of bland and doesn't jump out to me massively. So if it's a really, really good game that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that it's based in the Warhammer universe, then I'm up for it. But yeah, it'd take me quite a lot to get invested in that series, I think.
Yep. The next thing was a sneak peek for the new Dragon Age, in which we saw nothing, as far as I can remember.
Nope.
We both don't care for Dragon Age. I think that's true. I still believe one was trash. Didn't like 2. Didn't play the other one, Inquisition.
Dragon Age Inquisition was meant to be really good. That's just come onto Game Pass through EA Play, and I'm tempted somewhere down the line, if I do give up on Cyberpunk because it doesn't run, I might jump into that. But yeah, weirdly, because of how much I love Mass Effect, it being made by BioWare, you'd think that I'd be well up for it. But just never really appealed to me, I'm afraid. Again, it's fantasy, mate. It takes a lot for me to really, really lose my shit about a fantasy-based game. It was I guess it was a reveal, but again, it was just a cinematic, just showing off different characters and chatting about stuff. I'm sure if you were a Dragon Age know-it-all and absolutely love it, then you would have got something out of that trailer. But sadly for us, people who aren't huge fans of the series, didn't really do anything for me.
Well, Jiggy is a big fan of the series and really, he's been pushing us to no, give it Inquisition a go because that's really good. The other two, take it or leave it. Play Inquisition, and was like, oh, are they going to do a new Dragon Age announcement? That'd be sick. I can't wait. I can't wait. Joe, give me a shout if they're going to do Dragon Age. Right, Joe, doing Dragon Age. Come over, look. Was that it? Well, that was rubbish. I'm going to bed. So even he was just like, that was crap. So
yeah,
we're not, even a fan of it was new.
Also, while we're on Dragon Age, I don't know if you saw that 2 of their big players in BioWare have left the company. So Casey Hudson, who was the studio head, he's jumped ship, as well as the other guy who was heading up Dragon Age has left as well. So all things bode well in the BioWare department, don't they?
Sounds good. Get them onto the get them onto the Halo team. The next announcement was for a remake of Ghosts and Goblins. No, it was not. A remake of Ghosts and Goblins, which I can't remember if it was NES or SNES, but it was basically an extremely difficult side-scrolling, I don't know what you'd call it, adventure, where there was just a stupid amount of stuff on screen and you'd throw spears.
Yeah. It was it's a throwback to those sort of almost like arcadey games that are intentionally
like
very difficult to make you put more money in. It was just so difficult.
Yeah, it's like Contra, that sort of thing. Can't say I was like, oh yeah, old school, I'm up for this. I just was like, it looks really ugly and it's really difficult. And
they've gone with a really weird art style. They got like it's everything almost looks like cardboard cutouts. It's like weird.
Yeah. Anyway, Ghosts and Goblins, but that might float a lot of your boat.
Oh, I'm sure there's a lot of people. I reckon Lawal's boat will be floating right now.
Yeah,
we'll have to see what he says. I see that we've got one last big game to get onto, but before we get there, there's just a couple of more that I'd like to give a quick shout out to. The first of which, Arc 2, starring Vin Diesel. What the hell? Who the hell saw that coming? I was in stitches the whole time watching that because I was like, where is this going? And then at the end of it, the logo for Arc 2 flashed up. What is going on?
It looked so much. It looked like Horizon Zero Dawn. So I just put on Twitter.
Yeah, they just totally nicked the art style and the setting from Horizon.
So I put on Twitter Horizon Zero Diesel because that's what I thought it.
Yeah,
but it's just so weird because like it was you on WhatsApp just went, is that Vin Diesel? And then like Joe Novelli and I were like watching it for ages and just went, it is Vin Diesel. And then like the whole thing, just like squinting at the trailer, like, what's going on? This isn't Horizon Zero Dawn. What is this? Followed by like him so just not talking for the entire trailer. And then finally he said something and we were like, it is Vin Diesel, like for the third time.
Like the whole way through, I was thinking, okay, so this has to be a Vin Diesel franchise. Is it going to be some kind of like weird alternate universe of Chronicles of Riddick? Is this going to be like I saw someone on Twitter say The Past and the Furious, which I thought was very well said. Like, is it going to be any of that? But then it was like, wait, Arc 2? Did people play Arc 1? Vin Diesel's... Anyway, the whole thing was very confusing. They're also doing an anime, which actually did look quite good, I've got to be honest, because it looked a bit like... looked like Avatar. Second one I'll give a quick shout out to is they're doing like an ultimate edition of Disco Elysium, which is a RPG that got a whole lot of plaudits last year. People were lauding it as an excellent RPG. They're doing the Final Cut edition, which is coming to PlayStation 4 and 5 very soon, and also to Switch and Xbox in summer, I believe. So keep an eye out for that. It coming to consoles. I will certainly be having a look at that. And the final one before the last reveal that I just want to give a quick shout out to was a game that you were up for, apart from a book that kept popping up because you were like, this game looks great apart from the book. And this is a game from the developer of A Way Out and Brothers, I think was the game that they previously made.
Brothers is excellent.
Apparently I heard really good things about Brothers.
Nice.
So they've got some good pedigree, and this game is called It Takes Two, and the art style looks wicked. It's like they're sort of these little dolls with really nicely done little like yarn hair. Mm-hmm. It looks great, and it's a sort of split screen co-op adventure game where you have to help each other.
Them both as well. So plaudits to them.
Everything about it looks great except for the Hispanic book that Mark really hated and has no time for.
No.
So I thought that actually looked really fun. That's due to launch March 26th, 2021, apparently. But yeah, go check out the trailer for that if you want, because I just thought it was really well done and looks like a fun vibe. Anyway, that's my extra little picks. Let's get on to the final one, which was really worth tuning in for, and the only thing that I came away with being like, okay, well, I'm glad I saw that.
Yeah, agreed. Great. I loved your little picks. They were great. Thanks for chipping in.
Oh, that's all right, man. I'm from Chippenham.
No, you're not. I'm from Shrewsbury.
Shrophersbury.
So again, that we have not covered all the announcements, teasers, and little trailers. Again, just to clarify, if you want to go look at that, please go watch the show or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But the final thing was, and this is a game that has been announced as happening back in November of this year, but we had it was a very short little teaser trailer for the new Mass Effect. And this was like at the end of a 3.5 hour long slog oil spill of a road.
Yes.
Was like the little like nugget of gold at the end of a dark tunnel that just like made it almost worthwhile, even though we saw nothing.
For me, it was like you've had like bangers and mash, right? And you've been given a massive portion of mash, and you only got 2 sausages, and you ate both sausages really quickly, but you're left over with loads and loads of mash, and you're like, I don't want to just eat mash by itself. But then your mum comes over and goes, Joe, I've got another sausage. So you get the last sausage to eat with the mash, and this trailer was that last sausage.
That'd be quite weird because my name's not Joe. So if my mum came over and went, Joe, I've got another sausage, I'd be like, what's going on?
Yes. Sorry, that's where that analogy fell.
So the teaser trailer didn't necessarily show a lot. The Mass Effect music is very iconic. Well, at least I believe so. That sort of...
Yeah, you got a few teasers at that throughout it, and that's...
Yeah. Oh. It was really backgroundy, but lots of shots of like space and the universe and stuff. The exciting thing is that we both believe it to be Liara from the original Mass Effect trilogy that pops up at the end. You sort of see the side of her face. She's on a snowy sort of Hoth-looking planet and sort of slightly turns towards the camera. And her facial features just resemble Liara enough to make us think, oh, hang on. And I looked at YouTube comments of the trailer when it got uploaded, and people are like, is that Liara? Is that Liara? Is that Liara?
Yeah.
And there was a comment saying, maybe she's looking for Shepard. Maybe Shepard's out there. And I was like, oh, come on. Don't give me that.
Yes.
Are we going? Yeah. I was just like, yes, baby. So
well, it's the fact that she sort of like dusted off the N7 logo. That makes it think, right, she must be looking for Shepard. And also there's a zoomed in screenshot where it looks like there's Grunt and I can't remember what the other 2 characters were, but other from the original trilogy. And the final sort of cherry on top of this theory is the fact that the final sort of splash screen with the logo said Mass Effect, and then you're thinking show the title, and it says will continue, which makes you think, okay, a continuation. This isn't Mass Effect Andromeda will continue. This is Mass Effect will continue, which makes you think
proper Mass Effect.
This is Mass Effect 4. This is the next installment after the trilogy. Yeah. I'm hyped. This is what we wanted. I'm hyped.
Yeah, so up for it. We discussed 2 weeks ago about what we want, and it was either we didn't want anything to do with Andromeda. Sod Andromeda, dump it, get rid of it, put it in the bin. It was going to be. It has to be related to the original trilogy, prequel, or number 4, and this is really looking like it's going to be a number 4. In fact, I think, as far as I'm concerned, it's confirmed number 4.
Yeah. There were moments at the start of the trailer because they had this voiceover that was going on about, like sort of the things we were talking about Earth discovering technology, and there were some hints at the first encounters with the Reapers and that sort of thing. And I was thinking, oh, prequel territory going on here. And then it was more. Actually, all it was just to kind of count, getting you up to date about where we are. Then we get the shots of potentially Liara finding that N7 logo. Just a really well done teaser, and I have no expectations of EA and BioWare delivering on a good new Mass Effect game. But if you can base your expectations off that trailer, my hype levels are high.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was the perfect way to like drum up some interest, especially after the dumpster fire that was Andromeda. And I think, I'm so with you. I want it to be good, but who knows?
Yeah, there's just no way of knowing because all we can do is base it off their track record, and their initial track record with the first 3 was excellent, and since then it's been bad.
2.5.
Yeah, exactly. And who knows what's happening at BioWare at the moment? They said they're getting a veteran team together to work on this, and that trailer does suggest that. It suggests that it's a hark back to BioWare at its best. But that's purely story-based. Who knows if this game's going to turn out any good? Let's just hope that we see some more stuff from it. We see some gameplay. We hope that it gets confirmed. I wonder if they will literally just slap a number 4 on it. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think they'll do that?
Yeah, I hope so. That's what I would have thought.
Yeah.
Either that, or they'll sort of do a sort of soft restart where it is based after Mass Effect 3, but it's like called Mass Effect Shepherd's Sandals. I don't know. like who? I don't know. But I think it's very likely that at some point in the spring, that like during some game event, what will happen is Shepherd's very good. It will be the Mass Effect logo that comes up, and it'll go, and we'll think, oh yeah, we get it, it's Mass Effect, and then it will go, and it will say Mass Effect, and then the 4 will go, and we'll go. That's what will happen.
The 4 will go.
Yeah, I'll make that sound really cool in the pod. Don't worry.
Okay, no worries. Great.
How was the Game Awards?
Well, worth it for that end moment, but on the whole, pretty dull.
Pretty rubbish.
Admit.
Pretty dull.
But we've got to give her the benefit of the doubt because this year
Jeff.
has been shit.
We love you, Jeff. You're great. Come on the pod and have a chat with us. But the show was dull.
Oh yeah.
It's not your fault necessarily.
No, I reckon he was like I said, I think he was scraping the bucket a bit. He was scraping the barrel even, just being like, please, can I have some reveals? Please, does anybody have anything left? Because it's got to be hard for the guy.
Nintendo, what have you got?
For God's sake.
Nothing!
Oh, we've got something for you, and it's just a list of all the games that we're pulling off the shelves and off the store in March 2021. You can have that if you want.
And a mispronounced Sephiroth. Sephiroth.
Yeah.
Superb.
Sephiroth, yeah, weird that. I was trying to when I was young, I could never get his name right. I'm trying to remember what I used to think he was called.
Seripoth.
But it was something totally wrong. It's a hard word though, isn't it?
Rothapeth.
That was it. Rothapeth. Yes, it was a very mixed bag. On the whole, it was a combination of being very tired and not that up for it, and also being more considerably impressed by the list of Disney announcements. If anyone doesn't know, there's like 10 new Star Wars things being made and 15 new Marvel stuff being made. So go and look at all those announcements.
It's great. It was way better.
Excited about that. It was just way, way, way better. So go and have a look at all those announcements.
Anyway, with that being said, thanks so much for listening. Please email your thoughts in about the Game Awards 2020, what you thought of some of the nominees, some of the winners, and the show in general. Did you enjoy it? Are you a little bit more upbeat about it than we were? Did you stay up late, or are you catching up on it late? Or are we your catch-up? Let us know. Please do that at Pushing Buttons
Am I your
Pod
catch-up?
Am I your Sephiroth? Please email us at pushingbuttonspod@gmail.com. Oh, dear. And of course, follow us on social media. It's derailing towards the end. At Twitter, at PB Podcast UK, and on Instagram, at PushingButtonsPod.
Yes, please. Give us a follow and a like and a suggestion and a how you doing, partner?
Howdly doodly. I gave you a googly and a listen. Please do that.
That's a really good new tagline. Howdly doodly, I gave you a googly.
That's what cricketers say, isn't it? We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Anchor, and Radio Public. So please do go find us on all those platforms, including whatever you're listening to us on now. Thank you very much.
Make sure you are subscribed. Leave us a review. Let us know what you thought. We love you so much for listening. We really do appreciate it so much. And thank you for sticking with us throughout this year of nonsense. We've got some exciting episodes coming up, including our Christmas special. So yeah, we've still got some content for you left this year, and we hope you enjoy listening to it.
I can't believe we're coming to the end of season 1, Bellum. Exciting.
I know, right?
Next week it's going to be Cyberpunk 2077 chat. If you're not cyberpunked up to your eyeballs already, but as you heard earlier, we have some thoughts on it. And when we're deeper into the game, although we'll see if you're able to get deeper into the game, we'll probably have more gameplay related thoughts and all that sort of thing. So stay tuned for that next week. But until then...
Yes. Until then, we love you. We appreciate you. We want to take you out for a steak dinner and then take you home later that night and show you a good old-fashioned good time. That's us here at Pushing Buttons. We love you. See you on the next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Compare yourself to Joe Anderson. Joe Anderson. 'Cause he is nice.